I think it's safe to say that the Brent Venables honeymoon phase is officially over. In instances like these, guys, it's difficult not to overreact and letting instead cooler heads prevail, especially when you're on the opposite end of an ass whooping. On message boards, Facebook, wherever you visit to get your OU content, you keep on getting the hot takes and you're getting the more calm, collected takes. This team has a lot to play for, regardless if we lost to Texas. We still have 8-4 and 7-5. No, this team is ceilings is 3-9. Dylan will be a solid quarterback based on his results at UCF. No, Dylan is great value, Landry Jones. It's year one for Brent Venables, so you have to be patient with the process. No, Brent Venables is in over his head, and there's a reason why other Power 5 programs have not offered him any jobs, especially at his age of 50 and 51. Players aren't executing and putting forth effort. No, the coaches are the problem, and they're being too stubborn and not helping the players because they are being too hard-headed and digging their heels in instead of catering to what the players can do like a teacher should. Bill Beanenbow's O lines were bad because of strength and conditioning, hence why they've regressed a lot. No, they're bad because Bill Beanenbow just has lost his touch and that he just generally needs to retire or get the risk of being fired. Uh, Roof was going to be a solid player for us, even though he was probably about a 2 or 3 star at best. No, Roof was probably going to be the linchpin of this defense because without him, the defense has collapsed because he was going to teach the linebackers how to properly be a linebacker. Probably heard a lot of those throughout yesterday and going to today. In short, the OU fan base is going through almost the 5 stages of grief. It's the player's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's this and that. We need to fire him, rinse and repeat. Here's the facts, guys. Whether people like it or not, we took a genuine step back with Riley leaving to USC. That was then. This is now. We're seeing that the cupboard is pretty bare on it, and it's even more bare than what we initially were led to believe. Um, Whether people like it or not, we have to accept that this is truly rebuilding and not, oh, it's just going to be a rocky year until Brent's players come in. Me personally, the only question I have on that is, did Riley see this coming and it quickened his bolt to USC before it came to a head here, especially again on the defensive side of the ball? But regardless, he set the program back several years, but you have to accept that is December. We are in October now. That was well over a year ago. Let it go. There are several guys on this team as well that should not probably be on the field, but we are what we are stuck with. Whether you guys like Bevel, whether you like Ethan Downs, whether you like Matower, Murray, Ugwebru, Broyles, Grimes, or even more so players who are just nowhere near they should be like Rain. They are the best we have. There's reasons why Nick Evers or General Booney have not played because they are worse behind Dylan Gabriel. You're allowed to have the criticisms, but that's the fact. We're at this point, guys, at this current stage, we are fielding a mid-major program that you would probably find at G5 full of players that are transfers or probably would shine in a G5 program. As a result, we are several steps back from where we first thought we were at a minimum going into this year, and we thought that maybe they could compete for a Big 12 title. And finally, guys, culture takes time. It takes time to change. And for the first time, in my opinion, these players are being held accountable versus the Lincoln Riley Country Club style of coaching. And I'm not sure if they're yet buying into that system or if it's so complicated they are that we are seeing the visible gaps in their base knowledge at this point. Regardless, that is where we're at, guys. Now, concerning the game, let's be honest, the only victory we had yesterday was we didn't let Texas hang half 100 on us. Let's put aside that records, not the good ones, were broken yesterday, but it was a complete domination. Like, other than that, there's nothing to celebrate because if you think we hit rock bottom against TCU, guess what, guys? We're still digging. It is still bleeding. We have not stopped the bleeding. And again, and I haven't said it yet, and I've told it to many of my Texas buddies. Kudos to Texas for breaking into whatever our clown tent is right now, taking our lunch money and driving around in our new car. They have a lot of pent up frustrations for losing to us for 4 years in a row, and they rightfully took it out on us in spectacular and humiliating fashion. I mean, good for them. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to embarrass your rival and make sure like this, and that's why it's a rivalry, guys. I'm honestly very happy for my friends BJ and Steven, as they've had to endure me poking fun at them for several years now from the OU side of it. And guys, guess what? OU lost one. It's not the end of the world. It's terrible. We lost it to Texas. It's not the end of the world. And guess what? It's going to happen again in the future. It could be 10 years from now. It could be one. But guess what? It's inevitable. It is going to happen again. Now, me personally, X's and O's are not my forte, and I do not claim that I am an expert on it. It's not a secret, though, that I'm not a fan of Levy's play calling, and yesterday kind of keeps on reinforcing that. I don't know. I understand and can relate how you can be down on personnel, and you got to work with what you got to work with, as well as like the stress of like basically the entire offense revolves around Dylan. Without a quarterback, you don't have an offense. I just personally find it difficult to keep understanding how you can keep going away from what is working, even if it results in a loss. We've seen this earlier in the year. We've seen it yesterday. Again, I understand and give him credit for what he came up with going into the first quarter with the Wildcat, the fake field goals, the jump passes. But we still could have got to that point to at least score some points. Why did we keep going away from the Wildcat when we got close to the red zone? Why did we throw Bevel in there when he was obviously not the guy and he was not going to be that guy going in there? Stuff was not going to change in 1 week. Force them, in my opinion, why do we just keep doing this and ramming our head against the wall? Force them to stop us before we adjust. Even set with that, again, I just don't understand why, at the end of the day, even if Bevel's not working, why you don't just try out Evers or Booty, even if they're awful, so you can just say you exhausted all your options. And I think people would be more on your side at that point. If you're going to throw Evers in at 5 minutes in the game, why not throw him in at halftime? It sucks, but you got to try something. At this point as well, I'm just completely stumped of why you're not running a four-man front. Our guys are getting whipped up front. Maybe it's not going to work if it's a four-man, but you got to try something. You have to appease the masses at some point. Again, we not only got beat, we got humiliated. But again, we've been at those bad spots before, but we had more talent on the offensive side to mask all of it, as well as some key standout defensive players to completely overshadow truly how bad they are. And they honestly, we'd had the offense to get us out of the hole. Unfortunately, this go around, we do not have that now, which makes comments prior to the game of, oh, we've been there before. I'm doing my job. It's just embarrassing. And it yesterday really drove that home. And at the end of the day, Venables has his work cut out for him. Again, I don't claim to be an expert in X's and O's, but I also know at some point my eyes are not lying. I see the results on the field. This team is broken right now. They got embarrassed very badly yesterday, and it's not going to end. So everybody, buckle up because we have more losses are coming our way. I've already personally have resigned myself to that. We are not going to win another home game this year, let alone probably another game this season. In my opinion, our ceiling was 3-9, but that's just it is what it is, guys. And when you accept that, it's a lot easier to come to terms of you losing for it. Again, it sucks. I know it does. And taking 3 L's in a row since 1998 is not a good look. I know it's frustrating. I know that football only comes around once a year, and it's something that you're not only looking forward to, but you're invested in it, and you don't want to see something you're invested in just go down in flames like it has over the past couple of weeks. Especially for OU, when you have goals in front of you, you got roughly 2 years before you move to the SEC. You got recruits who want to come in and play, and everything we're still trying to get over, such as Benedict Brisket and him winning over at USC. Although he's still struggling a bit on the defensive side, while we are still free falling, it's still very numbing from an OU's perspective of that. Let's not forget too that we are getting not getting the results that we wanted, especially seeing that Ole Miss and Clemson have not taken a step backwards and they're still going forward. My own thoughts on it though is how much worse can it get? I mean, we thought we hit rock bottom only to hit it again. It's just it sucks. It is what it is. I guess what frustrates me too as well is the most is in about 15 days how many steps backwards we have actually fully taken. People like to compare this to Bob and Saban, who to an extent, guys, I get that. But however, collectively, we have to see that we have more talent than either of them had in their first years at OU and Alabama. And it's just right now we're at borderline incompetence. What we are seeing on the gridiron, whether it's coming from players' efforts, coaching schemes, whatever, it's bad all around. But again, I want everyone to keep in mind Venables did not forget how to coach overnight, and he's walking into a down program right now. Yes, we are a down program. Say it out loud. We are a down program. And I've been stressing this too and making sure I'm approaching it with a cool head because even I have my instant hot take moments again. Progress takes time. In the context of football, pain is weakness, leaving the body, and it just really sucks to be in the moment at the moment when it's a terrible thing versus when you've read about it before of, oh, they made it through. Remember, guys, Alabama, USC, Notre Dame, Nebraska have all gone through this or going through this right now. Heck, Texas has been going through it the past 10 years. I think the only team who has very rarely had a losing season or has been consistently down is Ohio State. I think they've only had 4 losing seasons in their entire history at this point. But guys, at the end of the day, just ignore the hot takes people are spouting. Use your head in your best judgment as people say awful things when they are angry and upset. And let's be honest, a lot of that anger stems from OU not winning natties when they should have, or a lot of disappointment from over the years, especially being in the longest drought between national championships. Um, there's people still bitter that if we had a top 50 defense, a season like this would have been a little more tolerable. Not to mention all the close games we've had and stuff just comes out of nowhere, like DeMarco Murray getting injured against Florida prior to Florida, and we losing that game. This is kind of all of that's just pent up and very upset. And you have to think about other fan bases. Guess what? They've gone through it. Georgia went through it as well. So all I can ask, guys, is let's keep cooler heads through all this. Look, I have some hot takes myself. I'm personally only going to entertain that Levy is just personally not the guy, as I'm not a fan of his play calling. I'm not a fan of up tempo. I've not made that a secret, but you still have to give them time. Again, I also would entertain about being worried about recruits because let's be honest, they signed up to continue the football legacy restarted by Bob and Riley, not coming in to rebuild. They have to think about themselves too, and I get that. I understand that. But again, we have to keep cooler heads. Just something I want y'all to keep in mind. Remember, both things can be true about giving Brent Venables time and patience and giving him time to stop the bleeding to figure out what we can do going forward, but also be very upset on the field effort yesterday. But again, guess what, guys? At the end of the day, too, I think Venables is also aware that the OU monster is hungry. It's hungry for a national championship, and he's not going to be able to keep at bay the louder voices for forever. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think he has until 2025 until he gets shown walking papers for that because you have to give him the first year mulligan. You have to give him time to get the players in. If you're not seeing those results, if you're seeing basically players not developing, yes, then that's something we should address right now. We need to address what the incompetent is for now while also planning ahead at this point. But again, regardless of the outcome, guys, guess what? I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Despite being called a Texas fan yesterday, like that was really weird. Apparently, predicting my team to lose in blowout fashion. Spoiler alert: I predicted us to lose 55-21 since last Monday. Apparently, that makes me a Texas homer. That's weird. I don't understand that. Guess what, guys? We're probably gonna keep going through group therapy till the end of the season for it. But I'll be honest. I'll be honest with it. It's difficult to come up with things to say as there's so much only that you can say of the same thing if the results are going to be the same from game to game. Well, you have to do everything better in the next game. Oh, well, they didn't do anything in post game. It's getting very difficult to talk about, but guess what? At the end of the day, I'm still here. Again, the most important thing too that I can stress to you guys is not only is you have to be upset that you can be upset while also being patient. I also, as I mentioned in other stuff, stress about how it's okay that while you're invested, that you live and breathe and consume football, it's also important to have other hobbies in your life so when you lose, it does not ruin your weekend. I've gone through that motion. I was that probably about 10 to 15 years ago. That came to an end when you realize everyone has to have a winner, everybody has to have a loser concerning sports. Um, when we lost at home to Texas Tech and we lost the home game losing streak. Guess what? I was there when we had that abomination of a game against Baylor. I was there when we had different other ones as well against K State. I've been there. At some point, you accept it. That's part of the game. It's okay to be invested, but don't, again, let it ruin your weekend. Like me, I'm invested. I do a YouTube. I'm very invested in what this team does, but I have outside hobbies to keep myself level-headed. I'm a player in D&D. I'm a forever DM in D&D. I enjoy my Comic Cons. I enjoy my video games. I enjoy reading, writing. Again, this could have been different 10 to 15 years ago, but again, you cannot let it consume your life and ruin your entire week. Because otherwise, let's say if OU goes 3-9, you're going to have a very rough time in the offseason. You have to make sure you remain level headed. Keep in mind, this is a sport. And it probably, to be fair for me, it probably does help that my fantasy football team is doing fantastic, as well as we have OU softball to get us through the offseason. I know, wrapping it all up in a nice whatever bow. It's scary. It is absolutely scary right now. I know. We don't like being on the opposite sides of ass whoopings, and we're scared of reverting back to 90s irrelevancy. I get it, but it's going to be okay. Everything will be fine. Let's make it through, guys. We can do this together. Everything will be fine. We just got to keep on supporting the team. And I'll be honest, I'm not a sunshine pumper. I'm a realistic person. Realistically, you have to give them time before you can give them criticism outside of some very basic stuff, like yesterday. So that's all I got, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell when you know that I go live and or upload a video. Again, guys, I'm going to be here. We're all going to get through this together. Even if it's a 3-9 season, guess what? I ain't going anywhere. So, Boomer Sooner, guys, there's only one Oklahoma, and I'll catch y'all on my next post-game video and live stream.